and then I'm going to turn it over to Alexa.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I want to thank you for coming to our third Global Light Bridge Zoom. We're featuring Mark Wentz. This is going to be part one of a 3-part lecture. And the session is going to be recorded, but the speakers only will be recorded. So to maintain your privacy, make sure that you stay on mute. If you have questions, you can place them in the chat, and that's how that's going to work. So now I'm going to turn it over to Alexa, our moderator, and she'll take it from here.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Just to give you sort of a framework for what's going to happen. Mark is going to talk for about an hour. At the 50-minute mark, I am going to just give him a heads up. And I say that now so that it doesn't interrupt his flow and it doesn't interrupt your listening flow. But if you have any questions, put them in the chat. And that last sort of 15, 20 minutes is when we'll go through questions and enjoy. It's all yours, Mark.
Okay, thanks. First off, I want to thank everybody for coming, and thank Indigo and Alexa for hosting this and setting this thing up. And Major Rayfeld, I want to give a shout out to you. Thank you for showing up. Let me just say something about Major Rayfeld, because she's a special guest here. I'm going to talk about her later as it comes into the story, but Major Rayfeld was probably the first person to actually report the alien ships coming in over Rendlesham Air Base in the famous Rendlesham UFO incident. She has a major story to tell, but she is she plays in my story as well. That'll be when I get to a guy named Larry Costa, and then the Kevin Banks story. She plays in there, and then later, not today, but the next time we meet, when I really start into UFO stuff, she's a major contributor for that. So I want to first off by giving a heads up to Major Rayfeld. So okay, so let's get everything started here. So my title, my blinders are finally peeling off. It goes basically, the reason for this title is because, as perhaps you already know, I started off as a strict scientist. I thought only science could reveal the truth, and I'll talk more about that like a lot pretty soon. But as I had more and more experiences, I began to realize the scientific method and the way it's done academically is not complete. It's far from it. And so my blinders, which prevented me from seeing the deeper aspect of reality, just started coming off as one weird experience after another occurred. So, all right. So what's going to be covered essentially in all of these shows, I guess is the right word, is these are, these topics, they all relate. And afterlife, reincarnation, portals, UFOs, orbs, time alteration, Sasquatch, mindset, thought energy, dream methods, and issues in contemporary human physics. Literally, each one of these topics could easily take up an hour. These are experiences I've had, though, but it will be filled in also with, or filled in is the wrong word, but added to with many other contributors to these topics. So, okay. Now I laid this out as this kind of presentation, basically keep me on track, because I tend to ramble, and I'm trying not to ramble because we got time limitations. But I do want to start by reminding all of us, this is stuff we already know, but it's so important, that the conflicting view that we're both amazingly beautiful, well-engineered, and important at the same time, we're little tiny specks of possible insignificance in the multiverse. So I have some little pictures to represent that. This first one, oh, I went too far. This first one, just a tiny little bit, I don't want to talk too much about myself. A little bit more of my story will come in at the end of the shows, not today, but at the end of the 3 shows, because it'll fill in how all this development occurs in my life. But just a little briefly, just to let you know a little tiny bit about me, without going into too much detail. I have over 50 years of working experience. I'll be 71 in July, so that takes me. I started really working in academia at the age of 18. So that goes back quite a few years, 50 some years. And so I started out in neurobiology, and I worked in some prestigious labs actually as a beginning. And so neurobiology is one of my favorite subjects. So I had to put this picture in. This is an actual photograph. The techniques they use now in electron microscopy, which used to be my field of expertise, they're profound. So this isn't a AI simulation or anything. It's a real deal. This is a single frickin' neuron. And, this is in the cortical layers of the frontal lobus, the cerebral cortex. And, this has 10,000 dendritic trees. All these little branches are tiny trees that connect with other neurons. This is one neuron. Our brain has billions of these things. So you can just see, I just want to emphasize how complicated we really are. And that's just the nervous system. And I sort of outlined it a little bit more to emphasize it, just laying out for the whole body. Of course, I just use these as representative slides to emphasize that we think that we're one thing, but we're a multicellular relationship. And the reason I'm saying this is because later, when I talk about contemporary physics and quantum physics, everything will be about relationships. So our identity, we think of us as one thing. We're, obviously we are trillions of cooperating organisms, and to make up what appears to be one organism. And that's in the little scheme of things, us. And then I took us to the big scheme of things in several slides just to emphasize the incredible dynamic size of the universe. So our sun is roughly halfway out in our Milky Way, and the Milky Way is comprised of actually over 100 billion stars. And then this is the Andromeda Galaxy, which is our nearest spiral galaxy. It's about twice the size of ours, they think. It comprised of 1 trillion stars. And again, that just keep in mind, just imagine the number of planets and how many of those planets, can support life. And what do we even mean by life? We know the diversity of life on our planet is unbelievable diversity. So just imagine what it's like in just our Milky Way. And then this is the Deep Field View, latest one by the James Webb Telescope. There used to be another one with the Hubble Telescope. Each one of these little smudges is a galaxy. And this view is out of a rice green area in the sky, a little tiny piece of the sky. So just to emphasize the immensity. And right now, with the measurements people have done, it's very likely, or at least it seems, that the universe, our physical universe as we know it, seems to be infinite, which is bizarre. So, and then this is another rice grain area of the universe, and this shows web structure. Now these little web structures, these are lines of galaxies, and the bright spot areas are superclusters, clusters of galaxies, not planets, not just not solar systems. These lines are made of galaxies. And again, this is a little tiny piece of the sky. This is in 2 dimensions, and this is in 3 dimensions. So this is our one galaxy. And we have strong indications, and later in the show today, I'll indicate that there's very likely there are many, many, many galaxies. I'm just right now talking about what we know about our galaxy. And these are not well, these are not animations. These are constructed from the Sloan Digital Sky Survey Telescope. So these are the real deal, not simulations of any form. So this presentation is basically about how I transitioned from believing in the scientific method to understanding that scientific method has too many limitations and restrictions to get to the deeper truths. And after I go through a description of many of the experiences outlined, I'll clarify what I mean by the limitations and some of the factors that must be included to improve our ability to get to the truth on the nature of reality as us meager little humans. But a spoiler alert for what's going to happen at the end of this three-part show. It has everything to do with removing perception filters. So to improve our ability to get to the truth, we have to learn how to remove our perception filters. And later I will talk about what I mean by that. And matching your perceptive energy to that of the entity or realm you choose to interact with. You've got to learn how to match your energies. And what do I mean by that? It means to achieve resonant matching. And there's methods for that I've learned. And by no means am I even thinking I know a whole lot about this. These are just little things I've learned along the way that seem to increase chances for paranormal experiences. It comes down to the fact that light, love, and relationships are the keys to everything. And by increasing your perception of a wider spectrum of frequencies, you increase your ability to experience synchronicities and paranormal experiences. So basically, starting basically around the age of 10, I've been experiencing things, learning things, and it's blown my mind, and it's completely changed my paradigm, the way I think and go through life. One thing, and this may not apply to everybody, but for me, a nature-centered mindset really helps to achieve paranormal, Sasquatch, and ET experiences. I've always been a nature kid. I mean, just sort of freaky. So I have a few slides to illustrate some of the things. So my son and I went to Alaska a few years ago, and we really got into nature. I mean, like in a dangerous way. I'm glad we got out alive. And then I go to Montana. I used to go to Montana all the time. I used to work up there. And so I used to go help my Blackfoot friends round up their cattle on their 20,000 acre ranch right next to Glacier National Park. So I took my son up for one of the roundups. That was back in 2016. So, and I immersed myself in the spiritual life of the Blackfoot Indian when I lived up there. It was intense. And then so up to the present, my partner is the one who helps me learn how to do Zoom, basically. Her name's Dr. Maureen Richmond. We live here in Arkansas now in an area that's right next to the Ouachita National Forest. Our backyard is the Ouachita National Forest. I will talk a whole lot about that when I get to Sasquatch, because we have Sasquatch here. And so we have a lot of things to talk about what goes on around here. So she's a valuable resource of knowledge and experiencing. So she's my advisor and partner in life and work. So basically, for everybody, the door is cracking open. The universe is not what it seems. Things are getting weird. What I will be describing in this presentation will get very weird and unbelievable for many people. If it had not happened to me or to people I totally trust, I wouldn't have believed it myself. Remember what happened earlier this month during the congressional hearing on UAPs. The respected military officer, I messed up my phrasing here. this first thing didn't happen at the beginning of this month. The first thing happened back in 2023. David Grush. Oh, I think I misspelled his name. Damn it! Get rid of that C there. Sorry, I'm going to edit as we go along. I think there's a C in there somewhere. But anyway, maybe I did spell it right. Anyway, he said he knew the government had retrieved UFO ships and biologics. Also, the notable scientist Eric Davis, and by the way, Grush was speaking at a congressional hearing on UAPs. This wasn't, it was very official. You guys probably seen it. I'm going to play a little clip of this. It's amazing. I never imagined in my life that this stuff would start happening. Then also Dr. Eric Davis, just now earlier this month, told Congress in another hearing that the government works with what people describe as resembling insectoids, reptilians, Nordic ETs, and gray aliens. Now, we all know these entities exist, but to have it come out in a congressional hearing, I found sort of interesting. Okay, so I've got two little clips I wanted to show. Now, here's where the challenge begins. So I've got to go, I think I've got to go to stop share. Okay, let's make sure I do it right. And that screen is not what I expected to see. Okay. Okay, something happened. I want to go to my, do I
Share again.
Go to share again? Oh, there we go. That's the screen I want to see. Thank you. Okay, so I want. Okay.
Clicking on
Yeah, I know. I got to remember which one. It's this one here. So I double click.
it. Just once. There
Okay.
you go. And now share.
And hit share.
Yeah. There you go.
There we go. Let's see if it works. Okay, let me get this opened. There we go. And I got, where'd the play button go?
Over here.
I don't see it. Okay, I better go back. Sorry, I'm new at this. Oh, here's the play button. Okay.
Came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Wait,
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Did everybody see that? Okay, good. All right, so I want to go back now to my document. So I go to share again, probably.
Yes.
And I find my document.
Okay.
Which one's my dot? How do I?
Looks like it's probably that.
Might be this.
You mean you're running Word document?
Yeah, my Word document. It's probably this.
Huh? No, honey.
No, no, it's this right here. Here it
Yes,
is.
that's what I'm telling
Okay. Okay. Are we back to the? Okay. Is this right?
you. Ask them if you're.
Can you guys see the screen now? Okay, we're good. All right. Okay, I think we're good for the moment. I may call you back. It's good to have a Zoom expert here, so because I'm not good at this. Okay, so let's keep going here. Let's see. So I'm gonna I don't want to go through my life stuff. I really don't. Not right now. I mean, just briefly. I was a neurobiologist in the beginning. Then I did physics, a lot of physics stuff, and then I worked at lots of different physics places. Fermi Lab in west of Chicago, Perimeter Institute of Theoretical Physics up in Canada. I've taught both university and then I taught secondary advanced physics for decades. So that's my background. So, but I want to get to the interesting stuff. So both mine and others, and get to the deepest spiritual insight for how the multiverse probably, we can get some insight of how it works. I'm removing layers of the blinder, getting closer to the truth. Okay, let's get right into it. Here's the first one. Now, I'm not doing this in chronological order. This is not this. I decided to do this based on topic. Chronological order would mean going back and forth on topics, and I decided that's too confusing. So I'm doing it by topic alone. So the first topic is the afterlife and the reincarnation work. This is one of several experiences that just rocked my world, thanks to my father. So I typed it all out. I could just tell you what. I don't need to read it letter for letter per se, or word for word. I could just sort of go through it quickly. So in September of 1987, I was in Manhattan, Kansas, 120 miles west of Leavenworth, Kansas. My mother phoned me and told me my father was in the hospital. She phoned me that evening. The evening, I can't remember. I think it was September 14th, but it was the evening of the event in question. My mom called me and told me he was going to the hospital. Wasn't any big deal. They were going to do a little observation. He was expected to be fine, but the doc kept him in the hospital overnight for observation. I went to sleep around midnight. I had a very lucid dream, like the most lucid dream of my life. It was bizarre. And in that dream, my father came to me and thanked me for everything I'd done for him, and that he loved me very much. And we talked about a few things we'd done in life together. He then took me by the hand and led me into a tunnel of light, the classic tunnel of light that people in near-death experiences describe. I didn't die. And at the moment I was doing this dream, I didn't know he died yet either. You sort of see where this is going, probably. So when we went into this tunnel of light, I mean, it was amazing. I met deceased relatives, beings of light that I didn't know who they were. The light itself, there's no words to describe it. It was a blanket of pure penetrating love. It was an amazing light. It was bright, but it wasn't bright. It's just all encompassing. I didn't want to leave. It was unbelievable. I did not want to leave. But the light, one of the light beings, I don't know who it was or what it was, or told me that I had to go. This was for, they told me they wanted me to see it, but that my work had just begun and I had to go back. They told me my father was in good hands, and relatives came and took my father by the hands, and they just walked down the tunnel. And then I left the tunnel, turned around, walked out of it, could not see it once I walked out of it. I remember that clearly. It was extremely powerful. It was, without a doubt, the most profound experience I'd had in my life up to that point, even though I'd had a couple prior to this. This was pretty amazing. So that was my first real, it wasn't my first one. That was it was the most profound experience I had that really shook my world. So as you probably know where this is going, soon I woke up. I'm not asleep anymore. I woke up in the bed, and I'm just like, what the hell did I just experience? And I was still trying to feel it. And then within a few minutes after waking up, my oldest brother called me and told me my father passed away. Of course, I already knew that, but I didn't really know that. I dreamt it. It was a lucid dream, but I knew it was a real dream. So the experience proved to me that the afterlife existed and changed my view and a whole approach to life. I became a much more loving being after that, absolutely, even though I was still sort of a jerk. So then this is not chronological. This event happened back in 1987. So I put it, aside in the back of my mind, and it changed the way I went through life, but I really wasn't doing anything, following up on it by any means. But not long ago, a few years ago, I came across the writings of Ibn Alexander, The Proof of Heaven and the Map of Heaven. I read his books carefully. I studied them, and even though he had 7 days of this, I had a few moments of it. And but I can imagine what he went through is totally true. I can totally see it being correct. I could go through this book in great detail, but I don't have time. As I said, every one of these topics could be a whole hour. We could talk about these two books for at least a half an hour or more. It's a profound experience. Similar kind of thing with Danny and Brinkley. Same kind of experiences. So this really validated when I saw these books, like, holy shit, that's exact what they're saying. I could see that this is true. And then I started studying more aspects of this, which I'll get to in a few minutes. The next thing I want to talk about, which, and I threw this in here because it leads into the next part of the story of the afterlife. This was an apparition I saw a few years ago. I don't know if you could see it. I'll go into greater detail later in the next show, but this was a horseman apparition. I'm showing it now because we had to use infrared, seen with infrared. Just briefly to describe what this is. Late at night, it's like 11 midnight. There was a little bit of a moon, but basically it was dark. I mean, black. It wasn't quite black dark, but it was dark. So we were a friend. I was walking up the hill with the owner of the property. This is at a place called Board Camp Crystal Mine in Arkansas. I had never really explored this place before. I don't think this is the first time I've been there, but it was the second time for sure. And I really didn't know the people, and so anybody. So we're walking up this hill, and there was the owner of the property and a woman named Shelley Jones. I didn't know Shelley at all. I never met her before. And so we're walking up there, and Shelley and I turned to each other, and I didn't know this woman at all. But we said to each other, did you feel that? I said, yes, strong energy, but we couldn't see anything. So both of us agreed that it was coming from behind us. So we turned around, and it was pitch black. I mean, pitch black. And I didn't know Shelley. Shelley took out her Samsung camera and just started taking pictures in the black. I looked at her like, what are you doing that for? It's black. And I didn't question her. I didn't really ask her that. I was thinking that. But I felt the energy. And so I walked down towards where the energy was coming from. It was about 50 feet down from us. And I started hearing sounds. I kept hearing a horse. And then I heard this horse, and then I heard this some guy on the horse say, whoa. And then I heard the horse snort. I heard all this. I saw no horse, but I heard it. So the next day, when we looked at what I thought were going to be pitch black pictures, this showed up. Now, I don't know if you can see it. I traced it out down here. When you see it a little on a bigger screen, you can see it more clearly. And if you do some color filters, it can help. But you might be able to see the horse's head right here. You can see him snort right there. And when you look at this carefully, you can see the leather work around the neck of the horse. And when you analyze this little area, it is the connector between the tack work for the horse, where the straps go down and around. And then this guy's leaning back, and you can see the tail of the horse right here. Now, I got multiple other pictures. This isn't the only one. But they're apparitions. I heard this horse, but I didn't see it. Now, I felt I was only down there for about 45 seconds, a minute at the very longest. When we looked at the timestamps of what Shelley's pictures were, she took pictures for almost 5 minutes. I didn't feel 5 minutes. I felt a minute at most. That was sort of weird. Anyway, so this, I'm showing this event because it leads into the next event. The key here was infrared. We looked up the spectrum that Samsung camera took, and it went into the infrared. So we couldn't see it, but the camera could. That's our explanation. Anyway, I'm going for it. So the next thing, now this is chronological, but so I learned about this SLS camera system, and it's basically an old Xbox game. I think you can still buy them, but I went ahead and bought a couple of them actually. And so what it is I'll show you on the next picture. You're holding it. It's got here in the front it's both a transmitter and receiver, and then you've got a little laptop computer on it. So you've got so this is the black thing right here. I'm holding it. The black thing sends out a infrared signal. A grid pattern is a transmitter, but it also is a sensor, a detector, a receiver, it picks that signal back up. And then the laptop, then there's a software system called Connect that takes it's basically an infrared radar, essentially. And it transmits that, or it takes the grid pattern that you get back, and it looks for linear signals within the grid pattern. Okay. Now, I have studied this machine. I know that it's mostly most of the time you could explain the images based on simple physics. So I understand why the skeptics go poo-poo the system. I understand that why. I know the factors that give it a false ghost figure. So why do I believe that some of these are not ghost figures? It's because of this. This image showed up on infrared. This uses infrared in a similar frequency range that this Samsung camera used. So I realized that there might be something to this. It might not be just fake stuff. It's really a fun machine to play with. And so Maureen and I played with this thing. Most of the time we could explain it based on some of the, just thinking of it as an infrared radar. But we came across this one grave site. Now we went to a nearby graveyard in Hatfield, Arkansas. And I couldn't really pick up images from most of these grave sites. Most of these are older. And there were two that I picked up. So I'm showing you here one of them. So this is a recent burial. And we got a really strong image. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the video that we got. Now I got to go back and go through the video thing again. So now this video doesn't have any audio associated with it. So I'm going to stop share. And I'm going to go to share. And I'm going to see if I can find the video, which is right here.
SLS item.
And then I can hit share. Okay, and this shows, now this will have no audio. But notice the little stick figure, which is allegedly supposed to be the spirit. Now, keep in mind, we talked to this grave for a little while. We talked to the guy buried here. I can't remember his name, Alan, I think it was, but we talked to him for a little while. We asked him if he could come up. Were we just talking in the air? I don't know, probably, I don't know. But all of a sudden, while we're talking to him, the stick figure comes out of the frickin' grave. It wasn't there before. It came out while we're talking to this guy. So watch what happens. Okay, so he pops up. He stands up. Now, Marine's standing right there. and Marine's talking to him. He stands up. And it did. Okay. It didn't show it. I must have missed it in the clip, or it went too fast. Marine asked him if he would reach out to him. It didn't catch it on the clip, or maybe I went too fast. He did. He reached out to her. It was weird. And then he goes back and lays down in the grave. I don't know. We could be reading into this. And then he disappears. And that's it. Okay. So now I got to get back to the, I got to go. So I got to go to stop share. And I got to go to share. And I got to find the document again. Okay. I think here we are. Okay. All right. So we're back again, right? Okay. All right. So now I shared this on Facebook. There's actually a site of deals with SLS. I shared that video clip, a little longer version. And then these two people contacted me. They're from England, Jeremy and Carolyn Spillane. Now they ended up doing a whole study with the SLS camera. I think SLS stands for Structured Light Source, if I remember right. Well, a friend of theirs had recently passed away by the name of Roger. And Roger agreed to work with Jeremy and Carolyn with the SLS camera. Now, the interesting thing about here's what am I doing? This is the book I don't know if it's out yet. I don't think it's out yet on Amazon, but it's about to be released. I wrote a forward on this for them. We become friends across the pond. Now, the nice thing they did, which I'm going to do, haven't done yet, is they use several techniques. One was an EM meter to corroborate Roger's presence in addition to the SLS. Now, they're fully aware of the issues with the SLS camera when it gives a fake image. And so they set up a way to where it wouldn't give a fake image and to see if Roger would still appear. And the way they did that is they used a big white blank screen, which I've studied that, by the way, does not give a fake image. So if there's an image that shows up on a big white screen, it might be the real deal. So they got Roger to show up on the big white screen, and the EM meter would show the presence of electromagnetic field. So they've been doing some further work. And so this book is about their experience with the SLS camera communicating with Roger. Okay. So again, the topic I'm talking about right now is the afterlife. So continuing on with that topic, I came at the skull experiment. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the skull experiment. It is an amazing experiment. It was done over a 4 or 5 year period back in the 90s. So in the course of over 20 sittings from 1995 to 97, the investigators and they outline I have 3 books on this right here. I'm just showing you 2 of them. They outline the techniques on how they did this, but they were able to visualize the entities. Now, I'm going to what they learned in the skull experiment, which I'm going to emphasize as I get into more interesting stuff coming up that I personally am involved in, is that the entities on the other side are the ones that control the show. So everything that happened in the skull experiment was really done by the entities on the other side. And those entities could have been deceased humans, or they could be from other realms that had nothing to do with Earth. And but they're the ones who control what happens in our realm on Earth at this time. And they learned that. And in this book, it outlines all the many different techniques. They got writings that occurred. They got reports where objects would actually manifest in, and I had that happen to me, by the way, like several times later, I'll tell you about. Everything that's happened on Skull Experiment has been improved upon recently. But so when I read this, and by the way, it was scrutinized. They had people coming in they had NASA people coming in, they had researchers, scientists coming in, trying to debunk it, showing that it was fake. No, they took too many safeguards, proving that there was no way they faked this, and they explain in there how they did it. So now this one is more recent. This is called the Soul Phone Project. This is going on here in the United States. It's a replicated, double-blinded, multi-centered, controlled scientific experiments that have definitively shown that life continues after bodily death. This research has repeatedly demonstrated basic communication with what they call post-material persons. And by communication, they mean seeing the faces. Oh, actually, wait, no, Soul Search doesn't see the faces. I'm sorry. Soul Search, they developed a quantum-based photon system that allows the entities to type. They've set up a keyboard. I don't know. I'd have to go back and remember exactly how they did it. They said it, but it's based on answering yes and no. Using a quantum computer photon system. If you want to know more, just Google this Soul Phone Project. And they are coming out with a commercially available system that will allow you to communicate with entities that want to be communicated with. Again, they learn that they can't do anything on this side without the other side learning how to do it on that side to communicate with our side. So this is an very interesting project. The next project is Sonia Rinaldi. Amazing woman. She's been doing this for, I think, over 40 years. She has developed a system that really allows you to see their face. Now, I thought at first this was a hoax and had to be a fake because her results are so clear. And she not only gets a very clear visual, she also gets audio. I've tried to study this woman for 40 years. If it's a fake, it's a damn good fake. They've had people scrutinize her work. She's really developed it. And essentially the way it worked, it worked on an old-fashioned pagan system of using smoke. She uses a vapor, just cold vapor out of a vaporizer, or just plastic screen, and she finds an entity on the other side that wants to work with her, and this entity will bring other entities to her, and they learn how to manifest themselves on a vapor of water vapor or plastic sheeting. And she has got unbelievable results. Look at this. This is the picture of the guy that died, and this is the one she picks up on her system. Here's the woman that dies. This is, this is crazy. It's crazy. So she's gotten incredible results. Now, the next one, which doesn't get the same kind of clarity of visual like Sonia Rinaldi does, but oh wait, let me jump down. I want to talk about the French group. I'll come back to this slide in just a second. The French group. This has been going on since I think like 2005, 2004. They use a system similar to Sonia Rinaldi. They've improved it in some ways, and they have got the entities to answer questions in writing. Now, The skull experiment got that to work also. But these people, and these are still going on. You can go to www.ifres.org. Now it's in French. I use, of course, your computer will translate most of it. You can skip the writing, just go to the pictures. Now it's in a weird translation. So you go to the thing called satellite. I don't know why it says satellite. You can scroll around and just keep clicking on things and you'll eventually find stuff. So these are words written. They have hundreds of these pictures. So I picked out 2 of them. They're answering questions in French. And then these are the clarity of the faces. They're not quite as good as Sonia Rinaldi, but they're still pretty good. And I have a recording. They developed a technique to get clear audio from the deceased ones. Now this in French. It's probably not even necessary to play this audio. It'll be in French, but I don't know any French, but as far as I can tell, it's in clear French. So let's see if I can now this time I can just double click on this. Oh.
T'arrives à écrire
L'âne.
l'âne. Moi j'ai vu là. L-E-N, c'est son nom, l'âne, Anthony Lannes.
Could you guys hear that? Did you hear that audio? Okay. So, I mean, it's not a very good audio, but I just wanted to illustrate though that they do have audio. Of course, you can go to the site to get much better quality. They have perfected, they can talk to these people, to these entities. It's amazing. They've been doing it, I think, since 2004. Now they've got the technique really working. It's a whole team. It's a whole team. I don't know what to make out of it. If it's a hoax, it's a hell of a hoax. Now I want to back up though. Now this one, have you guys heard of the LA Ghostwriter? This is an amazing story. So back in I think this goes way back to the 70s, if I remember right. I did buy this book. You can get it on Amazon, The Polaroid Ghost. But so to summarize this one, it was a guy who moved into a house in Los Angeles. He began to hear noises and sounds, and he noticed it was mostly coming from the basement. And then a friend of his moved in with him, and they started talking to this ghost out of the basement. And the ghost would show himself as a vapor in the doorway of the basement, and then different parts around the house. And then so one of the guys got the bright idea of taking Polaroid pictures. And so they were doing that. It developed, and it's a long story. It developed to where they asked the ghost, "What is your name?" And the ghost, this is a Polaroid picture into the vapor of where the ghost manifests his replies and himself. And he wrote, "Right." This ghost would then start answering questions. But they had to take a Polaroid picture to get it. Now, it had to be a special kind of Polaroid camera or Polaroid film, which, interestingly enough, they don't make anymore. It's called Spectrum film. They don't make Spectrum film anymore. They do make some Polaroid film still, but not the Spectrum type. They tried other kinds of Polaroids, and it didn't work. It had to be only that kind of film. They don't know why. This went on for about a year, and they brought in experts. They brought in film experts. They had people from Polaroid analyze this. They couldn't figure out if it was a fake. They couldn't figure out how they were faking it. So it's an interesting story. I've been in contact with one of the key investigators of this, a guy named Kerry Rayner. Well, I'm sorry, Gaynor. Yeah, thank you, Kerry Gaynor. He's turned into a Facebook friend. He was a principal investigator. He said it's the darndest thing he'd ever seen. That's how he said. I can't. I think I'm not sure why I couldn't go any further detail. I'll just leave it at that. But he said it's the darndest thing he'd ever seen. And there's a couple of video things that have included the story of this. It's on the internet. There's a lot of stuff on this on the internet. And
Okay, Mark, we're just under 10 minutes.
Oh, really? Shoot. Okay, well, under 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to jump up. Larry Costa. Now, Laura, you still around? Yeah, you're still around. Good. Okay, so I'm gonna try. I want to come back to Larry on our next meeting, but real quick, Larry is an amazing. Okay, people have different opinions about Larry. I get that. I know Larry personally. I've spent a lot of time with him, and he lives in Florida, in Inverness, Florida. Been there, I've worked with him. I have a lot of history with Larry. He is totally legit. He has been looked at by psychiatrists to find out if he has schizophrenia or some mental illness. He does not. This is a straightforward guy. And so I just got to say that. He's very honest. He's a trustworthy. His experience is without a doubt the most profound medium that I've ever heard of. So I'm just going to say that. So I don't have time to go through all these things. I'm going to jump up a little bit. He has been in contact with dozens of entities from the other side. Very strong contact. Essentially, what they do is they use him to get their message to us. And I've gone to, and I'll have to say, one of his entities, which Major Rayfeld's familiar with, is you're familiar with the Warrior. Yes, that's right. There was one that I became quite familiar with called Wallace. Now Wallace and Wallace would come to me also. He didn't always just go to Larry. He came to me. And I asked Wallace one time, I have to say this. Oh, how did I do that? I asked Wallace one time, are you real? Are you just some figment of Larry's imagination? And Wallace, in my mind, he said, okay, you want to see what real is? I'll tell you what real is. I have to communicate with you only at night. The veil only opens for me with you only at night. So I'm going to come to you at 3 a.m. You get your butt out of bed at 3 a.m. and you go over and you look at these paper flowers that I know you have in your little apartment. And I'm going to make those paper flowers into a face. I'm not going to leave it there very long. You're going to have to be there and you're going to have to stand there and watch it. I'll do it in front of your eyes. And so I did exactly what he told me, and I'll be damned. That flower, which was just a regular paper flower, turned into a face of a woman, a very distinct face. I didn't believe he was actually going to do it. I should have been ready with a camera. I should have been. I really didn't think it was going to happen, but it did. It happened. It turned into a freaking face. Now, Wallace would do this with Larry all the time. He manifested himself in many different ways, but he did like paper flowers. So he manifested himself on a paper flower. So this was what he did. He manifested himself as a paper. This is the paper flower. And then this is how he manifested himself. Now you keep in mind, they can't make these images perfect. So Larry went ahead and used an AI constructor to improve on this. This is about as best as they get. However, my flower manifestation was actually better than this. Larry got manifestations from dozens of entities. And these entities would also play with Larry and actually write on his skin. So this is one of the writings this is while Larry's driving in his car. All of a sudden this writing appears on his leg. It's that kind of stuff. But then there's I'm going to jump ahead. We learned about all kinds of things about the other side, all kinds of things. Vast numbers of realms, vast numbers of types of entities. Goes to what you think they are, and they have control of everything. There is karma, time's relative, all kinds of things. No one's really sure about God. Different entities have different ideas about God, just like we do on Earth. You can travel to all the various realms in your energy body. Some of your dreams are actually experiences in those. These are things that the entities told Larry directly. Now he wrote a book. I'm going to jump down to the book real quick. He wrote a book. I'm going to come back. I'm doing this out of order. He wrote a book called The True Story. This book, by the way, he's written like 13 books. This book, he's only got this one out in print though. And all of these books are channeled. He doesn't write the books. They're written by entities from the other side. And there's various entities. But this one, this is the book that's actually been published. It's an interesting book. It outlines basically everything I've tried to describe in my little show here. One of the more interesting stories, I don't know how that blue line got there, sorry, is the story of Kevin Banks. This is the one that Major Rayfelt was involved in. Now, Major Rayfelt has her own, I'm going to look back up here since you're sitting here. She has her own podcast. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here a bit. Let me jump up. It's called Gods, Aliens, and Cup of Coffee. And she interviewed Larry. And here's the interview. You can click on that, I guess, somehow. You can Google it, of course, to get to it. And I'm hoping, you know what, Laura, do you want to jump? Can you jump in now and just do you want to jump in now and just say some things about this? About Larry and maybe Kevin? I don't know if we have time. Can we do that,
Yeah,
Alexa? Can we let Lori jump in?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I got a phone call. I'm trying to remember how it happened, from either you or from Larry. Yeah, from you, actually, Mark. And you said you saw, I wrote an obituary about Kevin. I knew Kevin when I was stationed at RAF Bentwaters in England back in 1978. And I said, yeah, I did. And I think before that, Larry had talked to some of the spirits, maybe Wallace, and they said, is Lori the real deal? And they said, yes, she's Space Woman. And I thought, oh, wow. So that was, yeah, that was the beginning of it. And it was a lot of synchronicity going on with the meeting. I would ask quite a few questions when Kevin was showing up there, and because he had died not long before there. It was just kind of it was an accidental death, because he was trying to get closer to some realms and go into a state that, anyway, he went a little bit too far. And is there anything else I should share, Mark?
What about Ken Kern?
Oh, yeah. Ken Kern is another gentleman that I worked with, and he was really good friends with Kevin during the time for several years. And he had said some things. He had shared some information about Kevin just being very, very being able to find beings in inanimate objects, like a doll or a rock, and yeah, and he was just an interesting guy. But it was just really, really fascinating that all of a sudden the powers to be, these entities that are out there, knew me and knew what that I was talking about. Space Woman came from the fact that I was one of the airmen who saw a UFO back in 1980. So so it was interesting that they know us.
Now, just I want to do a plug here for Lori's book. So she recently came out with the Rendlesham Lone Ranger book, and it's a story. It's her story in the lead up to the Rendlesham UFO event. Her role in that. It's a very interesting book. I've read it and I loved it. So,
Thank you.
now, Alexa, do I have time to just tell a little bit about the Kevin story?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. There aren't any questions. So, I mean, in the chat. So, yeah.
Okay. Let me back up then and talk a little bit about this. There's so much to Larry, but because of time, and on the next show, I'm going to start off with Larry because there's so much to talk about Larry. But one of the things about the Larry story is about Kevin. Okay, so let me scroll down and go straight to Kevin. Where did I put that? Yeah, here's the Kevin Banks story. Okay, I wrote it all out here. I'll just tell you, it's a long story. So I don't remember the year, probably 2022 maybe. But anyway, so I'm working with Larry, and Larry, this entity came through called Kevin. We'd never talked to Kevin before. He just came through. And Kevin was telling us, we didn't know who Kevin was. We knew nothing about Kevin, nothing. But Kevin volunteered to tell us about aspects of the other side, what it's like when you die, and how you can make contact with this side when you've died, and how you find your friends, and what there's different layers of realms. He was telling us about stuff about what it's like to be on the other side, which is a whole story in itself, of course. And so then Larry asked him, well, okay, so you said you can manifest yourself on this side. Can you do that? And so Kevin said, sure. Go over to your plate glass window, look in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll see me. Because I've learned from the other side that the molecular vibration of glass, silicon dioxide, is really conducive for us to be able to contact your vibrational realm. So glass works really well. So he goes over to the glass plate in Larry's apartment, or house, I meant to say, and this is the image. Now, Kevin said, you're very seldom going to get clean images from outside. The contact, the communication just fuzzes us. Well, first off, we're not always clear images, even to ourselves on our side. The physics on our side is different. We're made of atoms, but they're different kinds of atoms. They don't follow the same kind of physics as your side. It's a different vibrational state, and we can't. If I talk more about this, I'm going to sidetrack into the properties of the other side. I want to just get right directly to the Kevin story. But he does describe the properties of the physics on that side, because Kevin was big into science on this side. So it really was a valuable source of information. So this is the image. Okay. So both Larry and I ran it through an AI cleaning up image, face image, and we got this. Both Larry and I got this independently. We asked Kevin, is this what you look like in real life? He said, yeah, basically. Yeah, you got a real close image. So, okay. All right. So we're now talking to Kevin big time. Lots of communication. Okay, let's see here now. Okay, yeah, what I did next is I had a friend at the time, I had a friend in Pennsylvania, a woman by the name of Joanne. And I shared this with Joanne. And Joanne asked me, is it all right if I could share this with a friend of mine in England by the name of Derek Savory, which happens to be a friend of Lori's. He's recently died, unfortunately. But oddly enough, one of the synchronicities of this story is Derek worked with Lori back in 1980. Isn't that right, Lori? Derek Savory? Yeah.
Oh,
That's
no. Derek, no. I met Derek through the internet. He was interested in what was going on, the high paranormal activity at RAF Bentwaters near, or RAF Woodbridge near Rendlesham Forest. But and he was very close to Jenny Randall's. So over the past several years, we became friends. But Kevin Banks and I did work together
Yes.
while over in England, stationed at Bentwaters Woodbridge.
I'd like to follow up on that. Let me finish a little bit of the story, because it gets really interesting when the way Lori comes into the story. So my friend Joanne sent these pictures to Derek, and Derek said, "My God, I know this guy. I know him. He has a Facebook site called Dark Storm. His name, he died in 2013. His name's Kevin Banks. And he's buried this is Derek talking. He's buried somewhere in the Midwest. I don't know where he's buried, some military cemetery. Okay, it's 2013. I can look this guy up. I can look up Kevin Banks on the internet. Okay, this is when it gets freaking weird. He's buried next to my parents. Well, okay, I shouldn't say buried. He's in a cremated, he's right next to my parents. My parents are buried in a military cemetery in Leavenworth, Kansas. Oh, actually, technically Wadsworth, Kansas, but it's right there by Leavenworth. Leavenworth has two military cemeteries, one on the base and one just a little place called Wadsworth. And my parents are military, and they're buried at the military one. Kevin was military, as Lori just said. He's buried in the same region, like right next to my parents. That's freaking weird. And come to find out, Kevin's parents are nearly neighbors to my brother in Kansas City, in Overland Park, Prairie Village area of Kansas City. Okay, so how did I find out about Lori? Well, I looked up more stories about Kevin Banks. He lived in Leavenworth for a while. He hung out the same place as I used to hang out. I don't know how I didn't meet this guy sometimes, how our paths didn't cross in real life. But anyway, so when I looked up the obituary report on the internet, it didn't list any family members. There were no family members listed on the description of his death. The only person listed was Major Lori Rayfeld. Now, Lori, correct me if my memory's wrong, but I think what I did was I tracked you down on Facebook, I think. I contacted you. I was expecting you to ignore it completely and thinking I think I gave a little story about what it was about. I expected no return. I didn't think you're going to even answer. I expected nothing, or that I'm a wacko and leave me alone. But no, you got back with me pretty quick, and thus began our communication.
Yeah, we shared a phone number. I have he went by Kevin Darkstorm on his page, and he actually wrote me a couple of weeks before he died, and it's kind of it's just kind of cryptic. He wrote, "Hi Lori, you may have something about image in window for that pic I posted and asked about. it's been indicated to me by another member that folks purposely dumbed down the pic so thread would go away. Don't know. So anyway, like I said, it's cryptic, and he also wrote this other one a few months earlier. He wrote, "Hi Lori, the teddy bear like had when I was a little kid idea. Those do sometimes turn out to be a type of plasma life form. Oh, they're cool, kind. They enjoy the regular teddy bear or whatever plush animal type antics and pretend time, but are also a little bit more too. I got one introduced and reintroduced to Derek. Don't know if that might help you." So yeah, that's all the
Do
message.
you know what that meant?
Well, he was talking
Any of
about
that? Yeah.
about that he encountered while he was alive, um, the spirits that were in, like I mentioned, in objects that, like a teddy bear or
Oh, yes.
and
So,
and I think in one case there were a couple of rocks he had on top of his speaker on his page. You can still go on his page and see some of the photos and stuff, but
yes.
he was just a really quiet guy that I knew over in England, but apparently he was very much into paranormal, and it was a perfect place back then because we were located in the most haunted county in the world, Suffolk County in England, and there was just a lot of witchcraft, a lot of different activity going on off base, and to include the UFO stuff. So it was interesting, and then when Larry was able to get in contact him, and I was able to ask questions, and it was just kind of like a reunion with Kevin.
One,
I would like to interject for a moment. We're running a little late on the meeting, which is great, but I know there's a question in the chat regarding mirrors and glass, and you were talking about images. Alexa, do you see those questions?
I do. Let me scroll back up. The question was, so mirrors work like a reflection behind you? I'm not sure, Jim, quite what that means. Or what you're asking, if you wanted to unmute and ask. Jim's here.
Yeah, I can do that. The question was, so the mirrors, you said the glass, what is it? Shows the right frequency so we can see the entity or see. Would mirrors do the same thing? Because
yes.
okay, a long time ago, years and years ago, I was spiritual and I looked in the mirror and Jesus was standing behind me, clear as day. I turned around, he's gone. Turned back in the mirror, gone. But it just kind of freaked me out.
Yeah.
So I guess it
Well,
worked. That's all.
I would guess that if you start, well, you probably, I don't know your background or anything, but intention. Okay, what I've learned from Larry, and I'm just stating stuff that's known by thousands of people over probably thousands of years, millions of people. But intention and the idea that understanding that all these realms are all around us right now, and we can develop techniques to contact them. And then you bring in the entities that are in your field of intention. So, and they can use all kinds of ways to manifest, as I've tried to show in these different strategies of contact. So the mirror, your intention, I'm just saying something, correct me if I'm wrong, but your intention for Jesus, Jesus is going to come and talk to you because you attracted him. And you made the contact to the other realm.
Yeah.
Intention is huge. It's huge.
And then I didn't understand it. So I guess I lost that resonance of that frequency and just poof.
Yeah.
It was hard to believe. That's what I was.
Yeah.
Alexa,
Very.
is there another question that you want to read that would be relevant to?
There weren't any other questions. There were just some comments. So if everybody wants to sort of look through the chat, there's some great, some acknowledgement and some animals that had come to people, right as they were passing. So this.
Okay, so we're at about quarter after the hour, so we'll have to be wrapping this up soon. So I'm going to turn it back to you, Mark. What are your closing comments? Do you want to wrap this up? Do you want to talk a little bit about what you're going to come back with in part 2? When we come
Yeah,
back?
absolutely. So, yeah, so I'm gonna go back in part 2. I'm gonna go back, and I think I'm gonna start with Larry and go through a lot of the things that the entities have taught Larry. Now, Larry, your interview with Larry, oh, is Lori gone? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Your interview with Larry was only one of 2 interviews I know that he's ever given. He gave an interview with Brett Rains, and he gave an interview with you. That's it. Larry doesn't share. Generally has not. Yeah, he wrote a book, so he's definitely shared. But in terms of talking to other people, he doesn't talk to other people about this stuff. I'm his one of 2 confidants he has. So I hear everything. So reason I'm saying this, and I've talked to Larry about this, and I've talked to some of the entities that Larry talks with, one in particular called the Warrior. They've agreed that, okay, it's okay for me to say some things because I'm the one saying it, not Larry. But I'm going to go through some of the things that the entities have, including Kevin, have told us about the other side. I'm probably going to improve on this list. I just started out with about 11 things. There's a whole bunch of things. That book that he wrote, those are the things that Wallace talked about. Every entity has a little different thing to talk about. They're just like us. It's just like talking to any human on this planet. We're just talking to other entities. They just happen to not live on our planet. So I'm going to go through what I've learned from Larry and all the entities. You might check out Brent Rains' interview. You get a different perspective from Lori's interview and Brent's interview. You'll get a good perspective on Larry.
And Mark, are you going to tie this in part 2 to some Sasquatch information?
Oh, yes, yeah, I'm getting there. Okay, let me keep going. I'm getting there. Okay, so I still want to talk more before I get to Sasquatch. I'm scrolling down here a little bit. So I'm gonna start talking about. I didn't even get to reincarnation. Damn it. We're gonna go through the reincarnation stuff. My work with Uri Geller. I work with Uri Geller personally. I want to go through my work with Uri Geller. I was one of about 100 of his students. I love that work. I've got to tell these 2 stories. David Kinsey's story and the Linda Clements story. They're amazing stories. Then I want to get into, let's see. Then I'll start in on the Sasquatch stuff. And Sasquatch will lead us into UFOs and orbs and board camp crystal mine. That's enough for easily another show. So there's lots of stuff. I haven't got all the slides ready yet. So next time we meet, I'm going to finish up the stuff with the afterlife, and then I'm going to get into Sasquatch. That's my present research. Right now, I'm having Sasquatch experiences left and right, and they're amazing experiences. I'll get into that, and then talk about what's going on at Board Camp Crystal Mine and the light and UFO. I've got UFO video that a friend of mine filmed over there recently, and all the light experiences that go on over there. So I'm going to talk about Board Camp Crystal Mine. And then our third show, if we get that far, I'm going to start talking about tying it all together into techniques used for contact, dream therapy, the dream techniques, the different meditation techniques that, people have been doing for thousands, if not millions of years, just sort of emphasizing them. The more you do these, even though at first it doesn't seem like it's doing anything at all, you're going to start increasing your synchronicities. Talk about Nancy Tremaine, David Shoup. Oh my God. I've got so much, and these are all personal experiences. So they deal, and then the present day stuff. I mean, there's so much information coming out now that we could talk for many, many hours on this stuff. So sorry, I'm rambling. I'll have it all very organized by the time we have our next meeting. So.
Thank you, Mark. I thought you were really amazing. We all appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much. And I can't wait until next month. Thank you. That was amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you showing up and listening to me. So.
Yeah, and thank you, Mark, for inviting me. I
Oh,
appreciate it a
absolutely.
lot.
And
It's very-
happy birthday. Today
Yeah.
is Lori's birthday.
That's right.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Lori.
thank-
Thank you for participating. Yay. And thank you, everyone, for coming in. We really appreciate you showing up. It was awesome.
And so
Thank
when's the next meeting, Indigo?
It will be the last Friday of every month. So it'll be the last Friday of June. I don't know it off the top of my head, but we're going to stay with the last Friday, 7 p.m. EST. Keep it consistent. And you came in today. You will be on the list, and we will send you information. We'll send you the links automatically. And I also do my little 1-minute videos and send those out as well. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Indigo and
you.
Alexa and everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good chat, Mark. Thanks.
Thanks, Fred.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to sign off. Thanks, Alexa. Love you. You're the most awesome person ever. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you, Mark.
Thank you, Alyssa. All right,
Thank you,
good night.
everybody. Thanks, Alex. Bye-bye.
We will talk again soon.
Absolutely.